The sapphic film Better Than Chocolate is a delightfully queer and uplifting indie comedy from 1999.
You, have someone? No.
It follows Maggie, who at 19 has dropped out of studying law at the University of British Columbia and instead is working and sleeping in an LGBTQ store in Vancouver, BC, while she figures out what she wants to do with her life. One day after work, she meets Kim, an artist who lives and travels in her van, and they hit it off.
I'm Kim.
Maggie.
Wow, you have beautiful eyes.
Really?
Yeah, really. Want to go for coffee?
When her mother, Lila, rings to announce that she has left her second husband after finding out he's been having an affair for over a year, she invites herself and Maggie's younger brother to come and stay, which has Maggie scrambling to find some accommodation.
This is my bookstore where you work and where I let you sleep on the sofa in the back until you find a place, which will be very soon because your mother's not coming here.
She lucks out when a travelling sex ed teacher sublets her converted loft, but with Kim's van impounded and not enough money to get it out, Kim, in true U-Haul style, finds herself moving in with Maggie too, which could prove to be awkward because Maggie's mum doesn't know Maggie is gay, and being a prim and proper housewife would disapprove if she did.
I don't do family reunions so well. I'm gonna go out the back door.
No! Well, then what are you going to tell your mother?
Nothing. Nothing.
Or maybe a big fat lie.
However, given that Maggie is surrounded by queers in all directions, the secret won't stay secret for long. There is a lot to like about this film. It's a bright and uplifting feel-good story that ends well for all concerned. It depicts a story that isn't just about two sapphic characters falling in love, but includes a wider queer community, which, when you think about it, makes sense. Queer people tend to find each other, but it seems like in sapphic stories it's often just the two gay characters and everyone else is straight. Here we get to see not just Maggie and Kim's relationship, but a cute subplot between Maggie's boss Francis and her admirer Judy.
I was wondering if maybe you'd like to go out with me sometime?
Well, gosh, I'm really, really busy.
With Francis running an LGBTQ bookstore and the issues getting queer books through customs, and Judy working at a gay bar as a singer, means the story touches on some queer culture and queer issues. In fact, the bookstore, 10%, was based off the real-life store Little Sisters Book and Art Emporium that still exists today in Vancouver's West End, which had run-ins with customs seizing queer books because they were labelled as obscene material during the 90s.
The fucking Supreme Court has declared this material is not obscene!
In case you haven't noticed, this is not the Supreme Court. We are here in customs, and I have a job to do.
We're just following orders, are we, asshole?
25 years down the line, where access to queer media is so much easier, it's a reminder of this period in time where queer bookstores could exist, but not without issues, giving the movie a thread of activism throughout that was perhaps less in your face than movies like the Itty Bitty Titty Committee and other rebellious indie flicks of the 90s that made up the wave of new queer cinema that had dominated the decade. But it has, at least in my opinion, helped this movie age better, giving a window into a moment and place in time while wrapped up in a feel-good narrative to make it an easy and enjoyable watch. The movie also did something that has been all too infrequently seen before or since, which is including a compassionate portrayal of a trans sapphic character in Judy. As I mentioned in my video on trans sapphic characters a while back, having such a character played by a trans actor is important because, as Nick Adams from GLAAD put it, cisgender people playing trans people reinforces in some people's mind that trans people's identities are not real, that it's a costume, a show, a performance. That fundamental misunderstanding about who trans people are is toxic and it can lead to violence. Having said that, while Judy was played by a man, which I don't think would happen today, the movie did a lovely job. I found her story to be the meatier and more compelling narrative of the movie, which dealt with her parents who are essentially buying her off with the purchase of a condo and touching on the transphobia that exists within the queer community. Most importantly, of course, is that she is allowed a happy and hopeful ending, which, like cis sapphic characters, have a history of being treated as mad, evil, or better off dead. That is, if they are portrayed at all. Even today, representation like this is exceedingly rare. Now, while it was delightful that Judy got her woman in the end, I can't lie, I was hoping that she and Lila might develop a romance because the film spent quite a bit of time building up their friendship, certainly more than the relationship between Judy and Francis, and I saw chemistry there. but also lovely to get a friendship out of it too, and this friendship ended up being pivotal in Lila coming to terms with her daughter's sexuality. For while Maggie and Kim are at the center of everything that is going on, with a pretty simple and uncomplicated romance that is lovely to watch, the true heart of the narrative revolves around the mother-daughter relationship between Maggie and Lila. Lila is quite conservative in her views. We see this in how she gave up her singing in order to be a housewife, even if she secretly regrets it.
I used to sing. I had to give that all up, of course.
Why, of course?
You know, if you can't be great, if you can't be the best.
That's ridiculous. What if it's what you really love to do?
We see it in how she is adamant that there is no future in the arts as a career and is thus pushing that belief onto her kids, in how she is critical of Maggie and how she dresses.
You're looking so, I don't know, just shabby these days.
She tries to be understanding when she finds Maggie and Kim in bed together. Nonetheless, her prejudices rise to the surface.
I mean, are you, do you actually think you're in love?
This causes a rift between the young lovers when Maggie is unable to say out loud that she is in love with Kim, leading to Kim leaving, but this little wobble between them is short-lived, by which time Lila seems to have come to terms with it.
Go on now, go on.
It's a pretty big turnaround that is in large part because of her realization that Judy is trans and a lesbian. She's clearly shocked to discover that Judy is trans, but it's ultimately something of a non-issue, and instead she finds herself joining in with Judy in a bit of rage therapy, where they chuck paint all over the wall of the new condo as a way to deal with the disappointment of the life she thought she was meant to live. Lila actually expresses more surprise at discovering that Judy's crush, Francis, is a woman and not a man.
That's friends.
And between this discovery and seeing the attacks by the skinhead homophobes when Maggie is protesting the book ban through her live art display, it neatly reframes not just her view of her daughter and her choices, but helps her to open up to living a more free and open life herself. Well, that and a box of sex toys she finds under the bed and then experiments with. Indeed, the climax of the film is a pretty violent moment, but you know, sometimes it takes radical events to help people see things in a new way, and it certainly symbolizes how radical a reframing it can take for some parents to accept their queer kids. So, while the event felt like it was a bit out of nowhere and with little build up to the event, it still worked for me. And while I'm sure more critical analysis of the movie could be made, to what end? This is meant as light-hearted and heartwarming fare. So while this movie hasn't gotten the cult status that the movie from the same year, But I'm a Cheerleader has, this is a solid classic sapphic movie to watch. Until next time, lady lovers.